Hey everyone, I'd like to present my final project for EDU 617. The pre-work part of my final project is that I chose 3 areas that I believe I could do a good job analyzing the data. Those 3 areas were the iLearn math intervention data, 4th grade multiplication fact fluency data, and some content area of the GMAS scores. After careful thinking, I eventually chose to analyze the 2019 5th grade Social Studies GMAS scores. Why might you ask? Well, this is a focus area in our school improvement plan, and as I become a leader in RES community, I would really like to make an impact on where we can improve in our school. Therefore, the RES leadership team has developed a goal to put a focus on social studies instruction to help increase the GMAS results. By focusing in this area, we hope to increase our CCRPI score as well. Here you can see that I gathered the data and organized it into a graph, so it's easily to be seen. Here are our results for 2019. As you can see, we did well in the areas of math and language arts, but as for social studies, which is our lowest score, we only achieved 72.46%. Here's another graph just to show the distribution between the levels that a student can achieve, as the lowest level is beginning learner, and then a developing, proficient, and then distinguished. We would like to see these beginning learner percentages decrease as they move up to developing, as the developing move up to proficient, and then the distinguished percentage increases as well. So now, what is the purpose for analyzing the data? Well, according to the National School Reform Faculty Materials, the purpose of a data protocol is to use as a guide to conduct data analysis and identify strengths and weaknesses within that data. So my protocol includes 5 steps. Step 1 is what parts of the data caught my attention. I have 3 main parts. That includes 72% of the 2019 5th grade population passed the Georgia milestones in social studies. Again, our school goal is to at least increase that percentage for the next year to 75%. I think a great strength would be the RES scored higher than the state average at 67%. And lastly, 10.2% scored at the beginner learner range, which means that they did not pass the social studies portion of the GMAS. Next would be step 2. What does the data tell or not tell us? Well, the average number of students of the 5th graders need remediation, and that percentage is 75.8%. The greatest area that they need remediation is in the area of economics. As you can see here, that is 79.5%. And also, I did not know this, but the social studies GMAS is broken into 4 parts. There can either be history, geography, government/civics, or economics questions. Step 3. Is there good news to celebrate? Well, yes. Compared to the 2018 5th grade social studies scores, we increased 3.46% in 2019. What are the suggested problems of practice? Step 4. Well, the current instructional model includes social studies is taught every 4.5 weeks. It alternates every 4.5 weeks because the science content also needs to be taught in the 9-week period. This, in turn, causes a problem because teachers and students are not able to dive deep into the content standards and could cause areas of weakness. Also, remediation acceleration learning opportunities are only offered in language arts and math, which I think causes the high achievement percentages for those areas. Step 5. Recommendations. I believe we should introduce a new instructional model that teachers will teach social studies every day. The social studies standards can be integrated with the language arts content, since most of those standards require informational writing or reading informational text. Next, create opportunities for remediation and acceleration for social studies during and after school. In the springtime, prior to Georgia Milestones, our school does offer after-school tutoring, which has positive effects on the student growth and progress. Lastly, we should share this data with the students. It is important for them to have access to their data, as they can take responsibility and ownership and become more of a visual learner. The causes. Last year, we moved to a new school, which a new building, new district lines, and a new student population. For most of our students, they came from a neighboring school in the county, may have been at Rincon for their whole educational career, may have come from a neighboring county or even a different state. These can skew the data, and we can either decrease or increase our percentages. Another cause is maybe absenteeism. This is found to be more of a concern in the Georgia Department of Education, as chronic absenteeism has negative effects on student education success. In fact, it has been found that missing more than 5 days each year impacts student performance. As a result, standard test scores are impacted by elementary students' attendance patterns. Next is the instructional model. Integrating the social studies content within the language arts content will greatly benefit student learning. However, only being able to teach the social studies content every 4.5 weeks is very difficult for students to gain knowledge and be able to retain it for the Georgia Milestones. Lastly, administrators and teachers focus on language arts and math the greatest, because that is two content areas that students must pass in order to proceed on to the next grade level in 5th grade. So there are the causes that I believe that cause a decrease in the student achievement in social studies. Some resources we can use is Georgia Milestone data, best practices that neighboring schools have used. In fact, a lot of schools, including Blandford and South Effingham Elementary, have implemented the new instructional model of integrating social studies within the ELA curriculum, and they have seen great benefits in doing that, as their scores in social studies are greater than ours and have increased greatly since 2018. We can also collect data from the social studies CIAs. That data would include a pre, mid, and post assessment to monitor student learning. Pacing guides for language arts and social studies to see how well we can integrate those standards within each other. An instructional supervisor will be a great resource, as she is the expert in the standards. The 5th grade data team, reading and writing materials that are effective within the social studies content. And lastly, language arts and social studies grade level chairs will be a good resource, as they are experts as well in those standards. An action plan. A SMART goal I've developed and also reflected based off of the school improvement plan was to increase the number of students from developing to proficient and to distinguished by 3% on the Georgia Milestones in social studies. Teachers will teach the social studies curriculum every day. Collaborate with neighboring elementary schools who have implemented the new instructional model, and maybe they can give more insight and share what practices work best. Collaborate, plan, and facilitate the use of new materials that language arts teachers can use to successfully integrate the social studies curriculum into language arts curriculum. Gather social studies unit assessment data to analyze the strengths and weaknesses that students are demonstrating in order to guide remediation and acceleration before the Georgia Milestones. and have students monitor their learning with data notebooks or folders. A timeline. Teachers will meet weekly to discuss best practices as well as their data. In the spring and fall of 2020, the instructional supervisor and myself with a colleague will research and provide resources that 5th grade ELA teachers can use to successfully integrate the standards. And also, teachers will meet in a monthly PLC where they will learn new programs and resources to help support social studies standards. To monitor and evaluate how student progress and achievement is working towards the milestones, teachers will gather pre, mid, and post data to analyze and conduct a protocol to help increase student achievement and prepare for the milestones. And lastly, students will use a data notebook to monitor their learning. Here are my references. Thank you for listening to my presentation.